Kshatriya Partha. Is it not, since it is a Partha, is it not Upadmaniya?
Yeah, it is Upadmaniya, correct.
Okay. So it is not Kshatriya. Kshatriya.
Sorry, here, no. So here, so that Upadmaniya. So here, you have to have Upadmaniya. So let me first clarify the question to those who don't understand this term. So we talked about this this Visarga when it appears before a pa and pa. When the Visarga appears before a pa and a pa, right? Pa, pa, ba, ba, ma, correct? So before, when it appears before pa and pa, then the pronunciation of Visarga changes to the letter F in English. F. So Kshatriyaha Partha is there, and if you pronounce it together, it will become Kshatriyaf Partha. Kshatriyaf Partha. It's almost you insert an F in before the P. That is how you pronounce it. So that term in Sanskrit, Panini calls it Upadmaniyaha. Upadmaniyaha. Okay. So that's your question, Haraprasad, right?
Okay. Good. Dhanyavadaha.
Yeah.
I have a question.
So
Balaji here.
yeah, Balaji. Okay.
So in verse 32, Krishna says, Yadirchaya. So I'm surprised the Lord itself is talking of chance. Is it just for a strong argument's sake with Arjuna, because Arjuna is in ignorance. So for Arjuna it is a chance, but for the Lord it is not a chance. It is all scripted.
Correct. So yeah, good observation. Yeah, so he's talking from the standpoint of Arjuna. So later on, Krishna will say, he may say things like, they're all as good as dead and things like that. But yeah, for Krishna, nothing is new. Everything is a game and everything. In fact, Krishna doesn't control anything. Ishvara doesn't control anything. In fact, the most helpless entity in the world is Ishvara. Correct? Because it's all law. He can't change the law. He can't change. You drop a ball means it has to follow the law of gravity. Law of gravity is Ishvara. And so Ishvara also cannot stop the movement from happening. And therefore, Krishna just watches the fun. And that's how he's portrayed that way. Watching the fun means what? Is just, this is how the niyati is. And dharma is all you can keep up with. And yeah, you're right. So from the standpoint of Arjuna, it's chance means you have not asked for it. You did not, suddenly you have guests, you have 5 people coming, and they are the relatives that you have not seen in ages. How will you be your response? He's saying your response should be, this kind of war, my God, nobody will get this kind of war. I'm going to go. That is what Krishna wants to remind Arjuna. Yeah. So it's not a chance. It's not for Krishna. It's not a chance. Correct. For Krishna, it's not a what do you call it? A random event.
Correct.
Good.
So Jaykumarji, Narayan here.
Yeah, Narayanji, go ahead.
So there was a different connotation to Yadirchaya which somebody explained to me the other day.
Yeah.
He broke it up as Yadu Ichaya.
Okay.
Yadu is God. It is his wish. So there's nothing called by chance.
Okay.
Yadu Ichaya. So it happens because of Yadu. Yadu's Ichaya.
So I need to look into it. First of all, there is a rikara there. Yad richaya. It is not yadichaya. Yadichaya, if you say it is correct, that explanation is correct. Yes. Yasya ichaya. By whose desire? By whose sankalpa? Means by Ishvara's sankalpa. Correct. That's correct. But this is yadrichaya. Yadrichaya. So richa what is rich that we have to look into. So rich, there is one thing like that. So I go ahead and look into that. If you have a dictionary, etc. Look into that and see if you can infer that meaning. For that meaning. Maybe there.
Because his explanation was there's nothing called by chance. It happens only by somebody's will.
Yeah, we agree with that. We agree with that. So we are not denying that at all. We're not denying that. So it could be. We are not denying that at all. And so, but it is yadrichaya, not edichaya. Okay, keep that in mind. If you are going to say talk about it, you must account for the richaya, not ichaya. Okay.
Okay.
So we need to look into the word richa.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So Raghavan, go ahead.
Sudha, I've got a question.
Question illa ade.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute, Raghavan. Others can mute yourself.
Pranam Guruji. In verse 33, like Krishna is saying to Arjuna that if you do not do this action, then you will lose your fame, and also like you will get papa. So getting papa is something like we should avoid. But do we need to work for fame? Like, do we need I'm going to lose fame, so should I do something? Is it something like one should
ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿತಯ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಎದುರುಚ್ಛಯ ಅಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿತಯ ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ.
So those who are talking with the audio unmuted, please be careful. Just mute your audio, please. So yeah, so where does fame? What is the role of fame in our life, right? That is another way of asking your question. So no, fame is by the way. You don't work for fame. Nobody works. Fame is nice to have. Fame is nice to have. It's nice to say, oh, this guy has done all these things. All this is nice. So, in my apartment, I can close all the doors and I can keep it a little less noisy. So here there's a community here. So anyway, so fame, no. So the point is, fame is not a goal. Fame should not be a goal. If you keep fame as a goal, then you are going to become a victim sometime or the other. Why? Why is that, Raghavan?
it will lose.
You will do unwise things.
Yeah, Harprasad, 1 minute. Raghavan, go ahead.
Yeah, it is not constant, so it can go also. Like if it comes, it can go. So we will again become sad.
So correct. So fame means what? It is an expression of approval from somebody else, which means I have surrendered my goal to somebody else. Fame depends on so many other people, and if they have a free will, they can withdraw that approval anytime. They can withdraw it anytime. And so today I am famous, tomorrow I need not be famous. And if fame is my goal, then it's a moving target, as they say. So better not have fame as a goal. Hey, if you have dharma as your goal, then you cannot but be famous. Okay? And the fame will come along with it. And because there's no choice, one who is dharmic, and somebody said the other day, just yesterday, and there is a person who is running a Goshala in Chennai, and that person is a devotee of Kachi Acharya, and that person doesn't eat outside at all. And if he goes somewhere, he will carry something with him. He will carry some peanuts, groundnuts with him, and some water he will take, and that's it. He will not eat anywhere, and he will not even eat at his parents-in-law's place. That also I heard. So that can cause other problems. But so clearly he is able to handle all those problems. And so that's his way of keeping to dharma. And not eating outside is a very important thing for in those days it was like that. And so that person's that fame will automatically come. And so yeah, you're right. We don't fame, but here, why is Krishna invoking fame then? Just a topical argument. Hey, you are a well-known person, and moreover, you are not an ordinary person with fame. People are going to follow you, follow whatever you do, and so indirectly, Krishna is reminding Arjuna that it's not like you lose your fame. You're still somebody, not a problem, but maybe provoking Arjuna a little bit by bringing that aspect. Yeah. So Prasad, one Gurujala.
Okay. So this is related to pain and suffering. So the suffering is possible because you come in contact with what is unpleasant, and what we discussed, I think, in class today. The other thing is suffering is also possible because of the severance of contact with what is pleasant. Now, in both cases, the commonality is the suffering. Now there is one observation and one question for me. The observation is that it is the ignorance which is common, which is producing the suffering. The question is, the pain is, in first case, the pain is on the body, and the suffering obviously is at the mental effect. Now, in the second case, where we're talking about losing the contact with what is pleasant, where is the locus of the pain? I still think that it is mind, but how do I really feel it? In the body, I know there's a pain here. Now, the suffering versus pain in the second case, since the locus is still the mind, how is that I can see the difference between or in other words, how can I feel the pain in that case?
Yeah. So essentially, difference between suffering and pain. So your second example was the commitment, constant contact with the external world through the sense organs, correct? That was your question. The second case that you talked about. So commitment to those that are giving pleasant experiences, correct? That was the second one.
Which leads to suffering, yeah.
Which leads to suffering?
The suffering which is happening because of that. Because in both cases, suffering is there. So in case where the suffering results because of the severance of contact with what is pleasant, that is what I'm talking about.
So when somebody has a pleasant experience, generally nobody complains when they have a pleasant experience. So it's all hot, and then suddenly it's cloudy, and it started drizzling, raining, and then within 10 minutes the temperature dropped several degrees, and everybody's happy. So pleasant experience, no complaint. So generally nobody complains about a pleasant experience. But then if the matra sparshasta kaunteya, right? We saw that earlier. Shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama payino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharat. So that is the nature of these sense organs, is to provide this kind of experiences. Nobody can stop it. Okay, if nobody can stop these painful experiences and pleasant experiences, then what choice do I have? Well, I do have a choice. And the choice is to make a conclusion about something. Pleasant experience means I am happy. Unpleasant experiences means I am sad. That is a conclusion I make. That's a conclusion I make. Think about it. That conclusion is made by the person, correct? Correct. And yeah, it all happens in the mind, no doubt. And but that conclusion is questioned by Krishna, and so that is what differentiates sorrow from pain. Pain will be there, but sorrow need not be there. Need not be there. This is what we need to think about. Very painful, but is it very sorrowful? That we have to ask. So for that greater clarity, on who I am, etc., is important. So that, and get clarity of what the body is, what all these experiences are, that also we need to understand. And experiences are like that. That is how this body, mind, sense complex, karya karana sanghata, that is the nature of karya karana sanghata, is to produce experiences. And let the experiences be. So I can't confuse a pleasant experiences with happiness. Because if I do, then I have no choice but to conclude that an unpleasant experiences makes me sad. That's very natural. So we have to be careful there.
Second point I'm saying is the severance of like I'm having something, but I'm going to lose it. So that is the suffering which I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Now you made it clear. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was not clear. So yeah. So exactly. So the more I want that present experiences, the more I am connected to that present experience, and experience by nature begins, and what begins has to end, and that experience has to end, and that ending of experiences is accompanied by my becoming sad. So Viveka, this is why Viveka is needed. Vairagyam is needed. Why Vairagyam? Why is Vairagyam a value? Dispassion a value? For the same reason. You better build your Vairagyam. Means you be dispassionate. Doesn't say you don't enjoy your little sweets and this and that. It says you be happy, whatever comes, and you be thankful for whatever comes. But you don't go after something because I like it. You don't go after something. So that is very important, Prasad.
So the pain is still there. Pain is at the mind level.
Yeah. So there exactly. So pain comes because I have become a victim. It looks like I'm seeking the experience, but really what happened? I've become a victim of whatever I'm seeking. Correct? I've become a victim. So now I am a victim. So pain is there when that thing goes away. I experience pain. Because pain, I experience pain and then sorrow. Pain may be there, but sorrow is a problem. Pain is never a problem for anybody. Even though we say pain is a problem, but we can all handle pain. We can all handle pain. We can handle pain. How? Because we are given the ability to handle pain. But we can't handle sorrow. Correct? We can't handle sorrow. That is what is a problem for us. So,
to rephrase my question, actually, now the second case is clear now. In this second case, the pain has to happen, which leads to suffering. And the pain cannot be at the body level because this is what we are talking about is what we are losing. And hence the pain and suffering both will be at the mind level. Now the pain, what I could sense in the first case, where is at the body level, now it is at the mind level. So how to see the pain? I know suffering is there. Suffering is very subtle level where it is in ignorance, which is causing me suffering, that I'm losing something. Now the pain part, which I was asking actually, with respect to the second case, that the pain is at the mind level, how to recognize that pain?
The pain is already recognized. So pain and suffering both are recognized. But they're all, what do you call it? Like spaghetti, they're all together. I am unable to separate pain and sorrow. Right? That is a problem. Yeah. So I'm unable to separate pain and sorrow. And it all comes together. So we don't separate these things. And we have to be a bit alert. And then we separate it. Correct? Then it becomes, then that is why, for example, children often cannot separate pain and sorrow. And they're taught, gradually they learn the pain is there, it has to be It has to be borne. It has to be, one has to put up with the pain, etc. But yeah, only Viveka can separate the two. Only knowledge can separate the two. Nothing else can separate. So that Viveka Buddhi is there. And once the Buddhi is there, it separates, and then really there won't be any problem. And then you can act. Then now your actions will be very, very deliberate, well thought out also. What needs to be done has to be done. And what cannot be stopped, you accept. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it works, Prasad. So there may be other medical questions like how pain is experienced and things like that. But I don't think you're asking that question. Yeah. Okay. So Mahesh, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, pain is, I don't know whether I feel sorrow when I get a pain. When I get a pain, I may feel irritated, or I may be angry. So suppose I cut my finger or something, I may be irritated because it is giving me a pain, or I may be angry with me that I did such a stupid thing. I don't think I sit in one corner and say I'm very sad that I got a pain. I would rather do some action to get rid of it.
Correct. So yeah, the point here is sorrow need not accompany all painful experiences. Yeah. Okay. Sorrow it need not. So pain is there, and then you deal with it, or you ignore it as the situation is, and you move on. That is fine. That is fine. So if one can bring that attitude to all painful situations,
yeah,
then half the problem is over.
Yeah. So to answer Prasad's second point, I'm saying is like, you say somebody does something bad to me or tell me something bad, I kind of either ignore. I don't feel sad or anything. I don't feel sad because, okay, maybe that person doesn't understand me or whatever will be the reason. I mean, it's not a body injury. It's something somebody is saying, verbal or something, or in writing or verbal. I don't care. I mean, why should I? Even if I pay attention to that, then maybe. But if I ignore it, people say, no, like you tune them out.
So that is all that we call viveka. Again, same thing. Tune them out means viveka, using your own buddhi. You say, no, this is not worthy of giving my attention. This situation or this person, and you use that, and that acts as an insulation. That acts as a protective cover for you. Fair enough. That's.
But the answer to that is when we have the viveka, where you can get rid of that. Because the person who is already having viveka, so can take care of the suffering. So this, my question earlier was that I do not have viveka. So the suffering has to happen because I'm losing something out of my control, right? So the suffering will happen. So with respect to that I will have pain, which is followed by suffering, right? So that is what I was talking about.
Yeah. So if viveka is not there and vairagyam are not there, then suffering is automatic. Suffering is automatic. Nobody can stop that. Yeah. Yeah, Girish ji, go ahead.
I have the same question in line with pain and sadness. You know, even if you have pain and you tell that you are something is painful for you, naturally the people around you will be sad, no?
So what is your question?
Yeah, the pain and sadness, you know, pain need not be attached with sadness, you are telling, you know. So that's what I was thinking. It is attached, there is an attachment to the sadness as well. Even if you have the viveka and you understand, you know, sadness need not be attached, but the people around you, when we tell that we have pain, naturally it will be sad for them.
Yeah. So Vedanta does not prevent sadness in other people. Vedanta.
Okay, okay.
But
Okay.
you study Vedanta. Okay?
Okay.
We are not trying to remove sadness everywhere and all that. No.
Okay.
And it is also not a given that everybody around will be sad either.
So yeah, so we have to keep that in mind. So we are
Okay,
talking.
okay.
You have pain. What is your response to that situation?
Fine. Good.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, Narasimha, you have a question?
Mohoday, can we take this in this way, saying that pain at a physical level has to be treated in medical terms. Pain at an emotional level has to be based on the principles and the values we learn. Say when we see people suffering because of hunger and other things, and because of joblessness and corona, we feel that pain in ourselves also. So then it's more of an emotional connect that we get with the people. So the treatment for this is to develop compassion, which will take away from our sufferings, and that promote or makes us to act on and take appropriate measures. So identifying the pain at different levels, either whether it is at physical level, emotional level, or the mental level. Once that is identified, we can also identify how should that be treated.
Yeah.
Can we take it in that way?
Yeah. So how do you manage situations? So there is physical pain, there is emotional pain, and emotional pain can be there when you see people who are needlessly suffering, who ought not to be suffering. That is what causes pain, emotional pain. So okay, physical pain we've talked enough, so we leave it aside. Now emotional pain. So there also pain is there. So empathy. First, let's talk about empathy. Empathy means what? You recognize the pain and suffering the other person is going through. That is called empathy, correct?
Correct.
I'm able to put myself in the other person's shoes. That is the meaning.
Correct.
That ability is called empathy. Now, so I empathize with other people. Now, then it causes pain. I'm unable to handle it. Pain. Now, but that pain can go. Pain when we say there may be an immediate response, and then the response will go away. The pain need not be there. But then the right thing to do is what? This is happening. I have to accept what is happening. Do I have the ability to accept what is happening? Or can I do anything else? Second question is, can I do anything about it? Can I do anything about it? Can I do something to alleviate the suffering? If the answer is yes, okay, then do whatever you have to do. If the answer is no, then you accept whatever is happening. Accept. That strength has to be there. If the strength is not there, then the pain will remain with you. Pain will remain with you. Now, point number one, if I can do if I know something can be done, then I must do it. Perhaps there are means to alleviate the suffering of the other person. So you do whatever you have to do. And in that process, when I am objective, okay, when I have this Prasada Buddhi and Ishwararpana Buddhi, what I do also will be focused, will be well directed, will not be vitiated by the suffering I have, because I am not suffering. I see the suffering, but I myself are not suffering. Because of that, I'm using that energy to do whatever needs to be done properly. Nothing can be better than that. My suffering is not going to reduce other person's suffering. If I suffer along with the other person, how can that help the other person? It doesn't help at all. So therefore, the suffering also, we have to be careful. You just see, sometimes it looks as though if somebody is suffering and I also suffer along with them, it's a great thing. It need not be a great thing. You have to think about it carefully. You empathize completely. And you do whatever it takes to help them. That is the right thing to do. I will suffer along with you is I don't know. Maybe it helps a little bit the other person. But then beyond that, there is no relief is there. It helps neither that person nor it helps me. We have to be very clear about it. So
Passive acceptance and active acceptance.
So yeah, prasada buddhi, accept what is happening properly. And then again, of course, do what is to be done if you are able to do something. That is the best.
To say Kartritva Bhava and Ishvara Arpana Manasthiti.
What are the two things you said? You're asking?
Kartritva Bhava and Ishvara Arpana Manasthiti.
Yeah. So Kartritva Bhava we won't say. So Ishwararpanam means whatever I do. So first thing is Prasada Buddhi. First thing is Prasada Buddhi. Accepting what is happening in front of my eyes, which I cannot stop, which I don't seem to have the power to stop, which is not a pleasant thing. So that is called Prasada Buddhi. First thing is Prasada Buddhi. Then second only is Ishwararpana Buddhi. If I am doing something, then with what attitude I should do it. Okay, that buddhi is called Ishwararpana Buddhi, which Krishna will talk about later. Even in this shloka it will come. In this chapter it will come. Ishwararpana Buddhi means whatever I do is done as an offering to this Ishvara. To the Ishvara, that is this whole world, this yajna is going on, and I offer my havis, my actions as a havis to that yajna. And so that is Ishwararpana Buddhi. So two things. Whatever I do, I have an attitude of Ishwararpana Buddhi. Then I expect something, I get something. Whatever I get, since I don't decide what I get, I take what comes as a prasada, and that buddhi is called prasada buddhi. Yeah. Good. So we will stop here, and if you have any questions, please ask in the next class.
धन्यवाद.